Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of FitzRupee Cast featuring Warcraft 3: The Frozen Throne. We are on Twisted Meadows hanging out here with the Forest Troll Warlord and his cronies, and we've got a great match here tonight. On the red side, we have the Undead player Lucifer, very good Undead player, and then REV level 40, please. I don't know what his name is. We're just going to call him Rev for this game, and let's get this game on the road. For those of you unfamiliar with the current scenery, this is Warcraft 3. A different take than what I'm normally doing. For those of you who have been wondering why I haven't been casting as much recently, honestly, Dawn of War 2 and Company of Heroes, really the metagames have just kind of stagnated for me over the past year or so, and it's just not been inspiring me to cast as much. So this is going to be the first episode of the relaunch of my channel. I'm going to be casting primarily Blizzard RTS games, because that's really what I love, and I can't yet cast StarCraft 2, of course, because the graphical quality of StarCraft 2 is so much higher than that of Dawn of War and Company of Heroes, so I'm going to have to update my machine. So in the meantime, we're taking it back, going back in time a little bit, and doing some of my other favorite game, Warcraft 3: The Frozen Throne. Anyways, Undead versus Human matchup, very classic matchup here. We're going to see what looks like the standard starting heroes. We've got an Archmage coming in for Mr. Rev, and I'm sure, almost guaranteed, we'll be seeing the Death Knight in for Lucifer here. As we start off, we can see the Acolyte heading over here, going to start following some heroes around, probably try to steal some XP, scout out a little bit, see what's going on the human side of things. We've got a Rax going up and a farm. The matchup here, the human tri-hero, is actually extremely formidable. If Lucifer doesn't manage to keep these heroes in check, of course, the Archmage, the Paladin, and the Mountain King will be very threatening against the Undead army. And since the Holy Light of the Paladin also doubles as a nuke in this particular matchup, it makes the matchup even that much more dangerous. So our Archmage pops right out, gets himself some water elementals, and is going to start heading over here to this first yellow creep here. Twisted Meadows, a nice big map. There's plenty of room for expansions, lots of big creep all over the place. Militia's been called to arms, and the Archmage is going to go ahead and take on this Rock Golem, High Priest Troll, and his crew. The Acolyte's going to hang around, maybe try to steal some experience as this engagement goes on right here. A couple extra footmen coming in, while the Death Knight, you can see, is on the mini-map on his way over here. Acolyte doesn't look like he managed to get anything on these kills right here. Looks like all the experience is going to the Archmage, and the Acolyte isn't going to be able to get any last hits. Archmage already got himself a Tome of Experience, so already halfway to level 3. Huge win right there, and has the agility boots of Quel'Thalas. Not necessarily the item he was looking for. He'd probably prefer either a Belt of Strength or, of course, the Robe of Wisdom, but he'll have to deal with those boots for the time being. Humans, of course, aren't even going to have any natural agility heroes to take advantage of those, so right now the Death Knight's just trying to do what he can. Got himself a Rite of Necromancy. Why get Necromancers when you can just take their equipment and hire skeletons with your hero?
Our town is under siege.
Death Knight managed to take out a couple of civilians right there, a few peasants going down on the way back from that creeping adventure. Right now the skeleton's trying to do a little more damage. Death Knight going to try to steal a couple more kills, but he's in a bit of trouble. He's got to be careful not to get surrounded here. He does have a few skeletal minions out, but none of these other peasants or footmen are low enough to really get any kills. The militia buff did wear off, though. Death Knight's getting perilously low right here, trying to get these couple extra kills. He's going to have to be very careful, as that Archmage can follow him around until he gets his auras going. He's not going to be quick enough to get away. Luckily, the Archmage and his footmen decide to go ahead and finish off the plague of those skeletal minions and hang out back home. A couple scout towers going up right now. Probably going to see those upgraded to arcane towers to help deal with that undead hero. And right now you can see our undead player Lucifer teching on up to the Halls of the Dead, dropping a couple extra ziggurats, and pretty much just sticking with his hero for right now. Picking his Death Knight back up here, has a Crypt Fiend out. I thought the Death Knight actually got away, but apparently he did not. Stuck around a bit too long, and meanwhile it looks like Aaron Spellweaver, our Archmage right here, hitting tier 3, and now going to be able to clear out this expansion. All these militia are not going to head back to base. I'm sure he's just going to build himself up another expansion right here. Tome of Strength going down for Aaron Spellweaver there, and the Ogre Magi is going to fall. What item did he get? He got himself the Boots of Speed, so the Archmage already a very fast hero. With those Boots of Speed, he's going to be able to chase down just about anything he wants. Death Knight still sitting at level 1. Not very good at all, considering we now have the level 2 water elementals on the field for Mr. Rev over here, and a second base going up as well. So a tower going up quickly, hopefully to get that to Arcane, so the Death Knight can have to worry about taking that feedback damage. Arcane towers for humans very effective at keeping those early hero harasses and pushes back. And a couple rods of necromancy, the sacrificial skull on the field over here. Looks like we have a lone militiaman scouting out the undead base. And we have the second undead hero. We've got the Pandaren Brewmaster on the field. And I would venture to say that our last hero will probably be the Lich. Death, the undead player, probably going for a bit of a nuke-based hero build here. We, of course, have the Death Coil from the Death Knight. We'll have, since we're seeing a Footman-based kind of build with that Archmage, we'll have the Flame Breath from that Pandaren Brewmaster, and then, of course, later on, once the Lich comes around, we'll have the Frost Nova from him. So the human player is going to have to be very careful. A couple skeletons coming up as the Death Knight moves in. Pandaren not far behind, and a couple skeletons, but one of these Crypt Fiends gets almost surrounded as soon as he moves in. This Blight's got summoned here from that sacrificial skull. Tower does go down before the Arcane goes up, and the two undead heroes are going to be able to run around and cause a little more havoc. Nice life-saving Death Coil there from the Death Knight to keep that Crypt Fiend up, but that Death Knight has to be very careful. He's almost getting surrounded right there, managed to maneuver out. There are a lot of skeletons summoned over here. Both heroes have rods of necromancy, so that allows them to get skeletons twice as quickly. Pandaren in a lot of trouble, but lots of skeletons on the field. Managed to take out most of those civilians, if not all of them. It looks like there are still two mining gold, but I don't think that Pandaren's going to make it out. That's going to be another hero down for Lucifer. Skeletons going all over the place, causing some trouble. Going to be some free experience for the Archmage, but it's fairly negligible, I believe, from these skeletal minions. But considering he is almost level 4, the undead player is going to have to be very careful how much more XP he chooses to feed. Black Citadel going up, and we have a couple obsidian statues, it looks like, coming out onto the field, and that's going to give the undead army a lot more staying power as they roam around, creep out some areas, and try to harass the human army and gather up their forces. Death Knight's going to get himself a quick kill, still sitting at level 1. Very unfortunate that he has not managed to get himself a single level thus far in the game. Pandaren gets resurrected back by the altar over there, and you can see the Death Knight just unable to even creep his own green creep without getting harassed by this Archmage. Lots of footmen hanging out as well, and as these obsidian statues start to stack up, I'm sure once we see the undead player hit tier 3, we're going to see those change into destroyers, which are very effective against the human army, especially when you have an Archmage as kind of the crux of your army right now. Those destroyers do magic damage, which will do bonus damage to the heavy armor of the footmen. For those of you that play Dawn of War, it's similar to having plasma damage or power melee against power armor. So it's that same kind of principle. You have the heavy armor, but magic is going to pierce it. Right now, it looks like the Archmage might snag himself a kill on this Tomb of Relics. Not a major victory by any stretch, but it'll be a nice little win if he can manage to get most of these footmen out here without taking any losses. One of them looks like it might go down, and he might actually manage to get a kill here as well, but I think he has to pull back right now, otherwise he's going to start taking unnecessary losses from these towers and skeletal minions. Trying to put a little pressure on those obsidian statues, but I don't think he's going to manage to get a kill on either of them. Yeah, he does choose to fall back, the Archmage flying out of there at the speed of light. And it looks like he actually handed off or sold those Boots of Agility, considering there's not another hero out. He must have sold those. And the undead managed to hold that initial push from the human player. A little bit of a battle happening here in the center once again as the undead player tries to get himself a couple levels. Finally level 2 on both his heroes to the level 4 Archmage. Human player does need to get a second hero out here shortly, I feel like. Those level 2 elementals are very nasty with these obsidian statues running around. There's only a couple heroes and a couple Crypt Fiends out here to really try to do any damage at all. So having the majority of his army being those expensive obsidian statues, he's going to have to play very carefully. Death Knight narrowly escaping with 100 HP right there. And we can see that Pandaren escaping from the water elementals. So once we see these obsidian statues upgrade to destroyers, which I'm sure isn't far off, they'll have a Devour Magic ability, which is a nice AoE ability that'll deal major damage to these summons and get them some mana for their destroyer orbs as well, which will greatly increase their damage output. Taking a look at the human base, we can see him towering up his expansion, which is pretty much the standard for human play. You'll see that the fortifications, his armor on his buildings is already upgraded to level 1. Human is the only race that can do that, actually upgrade the armor and defenses of their buildings. So those towers will be a great deterrent, especially against the smaller undead army. You really have to make a concentrated effort to really get in on human expansions. They're rarely unguarded, so you can't just send a few units rather in there to harass around and do a little bit of economy damage. But one of the things I love about Warcraft 3 over, say, StarCraft and that sort of thing is that, similar to Dawn of War, similar to Company of Heroes, this game is a lot more about map control. You have to get out there quickly, you have to start harassing the other side instantly, you have to control the creep camps and get your heroes leveled up, so it's not so much of the build order, it's a lot more on the field micro, that sort of thing. We can see these footmen caught way out of position as the undead army is between them and their heroes. Looks like the footmen are going to fall into this creep camp, but you can see the human player did a great move right here. Mr. Rev sent in his 2 heroes to the undead base, forced the teleport, and managed to save his footmen from certain doom. Unfortunately, it may cost him a hero or 2 right here if he's not careful, because the Archmage is getting surrounded. He's going to have to burn that scroll of teleportation, and so he does. Mountain King needs to make sure he's close enough. Yeah, there he is. He's probably right on the edge of that radius to teleport home. We can see 1 destroyer on the field right now, and a couple more might break out here shortly. Those obsidian statues, of course, have AoE heal and AoE mana regeneration, so that'll really keep these undead heroes at top form and able to dish out the nukes and put some threat on those human heroes. Our final undead heroes on the field right now, if you haven't noticed, the Lich right here with his Orb of Corruption, which does give him some bonus attack, and it reduces the armor, I believe, of anything that it hits by 5, which is essentially, I think, pretty much like giving anything that hits that unit 30% bonus damage. So you target something with the Lich, and then you drop your Frost Nova, drop your Fiery Breath, drop your Death Coil, and just nuke whatever you want into oblivion. So you can see we have the Mountain King on the field right now, and they transferred over those Boots of Speed, so now he'll be able to kind of keep up with the human army and with that Archmage right there, who's sitting nice at level 4. And the great thing about that human synergy is this Brilliance Aura is just always keeping those heroes full of mana, allowing all these water elementals to be out, allowing the Mountain King to throw out Storm Bolts and the like, allowing the Paladin to keep everyone healed up. They just have amazing synergy overall. Couple skeletal minions going out trying to scout out, make sure that the human doesn't have any more than just that 1 expansion for the time being. You really don't want to start falling behind in eco in this game, especially against a human player who doesn't have to devote much army to defending his bases, because the human towers are just very, very powerful. And now we have our final hero, all 6 heroes now out on the field. Arius the Pure, the Paladin, coming out to support Spellweaver, and Argonor the Mighty, our Mountain King that just hit level 2. I'm sure he's going to have Stormbolt, and he's either going to have Thunderclap or Bash. But here we have another little skirmish happening right here. Unfortunately, that Paladin roamed just into the wrong place, and look at those newts obliterated in the blink of an eye. Excellently played right there. Those water elementals got devoured by those destroyers, and now those orbs of annihilation are just pounding away at everything they can. There goes a Stormbolt, but it might be what cost the Mountain King his life. He narrowly escapes. Luckily, those Boots of Speed managing to keep him 1 step ahead of the undead army, even with that unholy aura. I think that right now, most likely he has level 2 Death Coil and only level 1 Unholy Aura. So once that Death Knight starts getting leveled up a bit more, it's going to be even more dangerous. Alaria's Flute of Accuracy on the Death Knight, by the way, an amazing aura for the current makeup of the undead army. That gives him a plus 10% damage to all ranged fire right now, so managed to get some nice creep kills right here. And oh no, we've got a big mean human attack coming in right here. It looks like our human player, yes, has transitioned to the siege mode of this game. Has a few of those siege engines just blasting away at the undead base. Manages to take out the slaughterhouse and probably going to start putting pressure on either the gold mine or the towers. Yeah, he's going to start breaking these slow towers so he can move in and try to take out this gold mine. Meanwhile, the human player's running around trying to get some more creep wherever he can. Trying to get his heroes leveled up. He doesn't want to fall behind this undead tri-hero, which is starting to catch up now. Level 3 Pandaren, level 2 Lich. And I'm not actually sure where that Death Knight is. There he is, level 3 Death Knight. Acolytes furiously trying to repair and keep those ziggurats up while these last couple siege tanks go down. Undead army is split between two right now. Has to be careful if they choose to engage this human army right now. I think they would be able to take it out. I'm not sure. Looks like Lucifer might not be paying attention. His Lich is getting nuked down right now. He has no Death Knight over here to heal it, and perfect timing with that potion of invulnerability. Arius the Pure activates his own divine shield, and now they're trying to take out that Pandaren. Honestly, I think the better choice may have been to try to break those statues, but instead trying to go for that hero kill. Death Knight is here, forces a teleport out, and the human army has to get the heck out of there. A couple knights look like they're coming onto the field for the humans as well, which is not going to bode well considering all the magic damage that's going to be coming out from this undead army. The great thing about the fiery breath for the Pandaren army too, or sorry, the Pandaren brewmaster, is that it also affects buildings. So when it does come time to push these bases, that flame breath will actually be able to weaken those towers fairly significantly for any future pushes. Pandaren going once again, heading up the charge right there, has the Amulet of Spell Shield, which will actually be very useful, and lots of good armies going down. Just got a second one that's going down on the Lich. That's really going to negate a lot of the potential nuking that's going to be coming in from the human player as the Paladin and Mountain King level up. So right now, everyone's just kind of running around, creeping. And oh my gosh, look what we've got here. Oh, this is going to be a big mean flight of gyrocopters over here. They do have a siege bomb attack, and I'm sure they're going to be going around looking for trouble, probably trying to snipe out the gold mines of the undead player Lucifer. Rev switching full on into siege mode, and this becomes very frustrating to play when you get to this later stage of the game. Fighting against human, they can just kind of turtle up their bases and just send gyros around separate from their main army. These heroes and a few knights and footmen can be such a hard thing to tackle on their own. So that alone will allow the human to harass the undead army and then send those gyrocopters around to break expansions, break the backline economy of the undead player. So right now, everyone looks like we're going to probably have another battle here shortly as everyone's taken out these last few major creep camps. And the human player, Rev, is going to grab himself a third base right now. But the undead player, honestly, is looking pretty strong. He's got 2 level 4 heroes and a level 3. Meanwhile, we're looking at level 4, level 2. And where is our Paladin? Paladin's still level 1. So, human player is really going to have to start trying to contain the undead advance here, because if any of these heroes hit level 6 before his own, he's going to be in a hard position indeed. Last few creep camps going down. More gyrocopters massing up here. It looks like they're probably getting ready to go out for a little engagement, find themselves a mission of destruction, and start tearing into some undead forces.
Job's done.
But all is quiet for the time being. Undead not quite sure where the human army is. He has to know that the human has to have quite a bit on the field somewhere. And the gyros are going to start moving in on this lower necropolis down bottom.
Job's done.
Let's see if this forces a teleport from the undead player. I'm sure he's actually hoping it does, because that will free up these gyros to move in and take out the main base of the undead. Luckily, it looks like Lucifer's not taking the bait. He's just going to let that necropolis fall. He didn't have a gold mine up, so it's not really worth that much to him on its own. Oh, I spoke too soon, because here comes the teleport. It's just the Pandaren, though. Looks like it tried tried to freak him out a little bit and maybe force a teleport of his own, but it was just a staff. The staff actually right here, the staff teleportation, only moves the hero, not the army around it, and it doesn't make the hero invulnerable while he's doing it. Right now we're trying to path block that paladin, separate him from the rest of the army, and then nuke him down as soon as that shield wears off. Archmage trying to hang out here and support him, but it looks like they will be able to escape to the relative safety of their guard towers. One more death coil, and wow, I thought that Archmage was about to go down, but he activates his Scroll of Town Portal just in the nick of time, teleports to the rear of his base, and falls back. We can see, wow, 2 claws of attack plus 6 on that Lich. That Lich is going to be dealing some serious damage. And in the meantime, oh man, huge gyro hit over here. Looks like they took out the gold mine, and maybe that's it. Maybe took out a couple Ziggurats. Ziggurats now upgrading the spirit towers to try to defend against future harass. But right now, the Undead player still only has that 1 gold mine, which is actually getting quite low. He needs to secure himself an expansion here shortly, or he's simply going to lose the long game. Tons of gyros still on the field. Undead player is going to have to be very vigilant in keeping an eye on his base. Hopefully he bought himself another Scroll of Town Portal because he's going to need it shortly. He doesn't have his Tomb of Relics up either, so he can't get one back at home. He's going to have to get one from a neutral creep shop, and we do have a Boneyard on the field, so hopefully shortly we'll be seeing some Frostworms come into play, and if a few of those do get out on the field, I think that's going to be GG for the human player. Luckily, all of these gyros still relatively unscathed. You can see a couple of them burning from that last little engagement, but they're moving out, getting ready to do another strike on the human player. Here they go, moving in on the base, and as soon as that gold mine gets ready to go up, it's just not even going to matter. You can see a couple of them are falling, but they're going to be able to obliterate those towers without too much issue. Barrel Keg teleports back and just is enough on his own to scare them off. He doesn't even have an orb, surprisingly, so he can't really do too much damage to the gyros. He can use his Flame Breath, of course, that will strike air units and do heavy damage, especially when all those gyros are tightened up like that. Human player now moving in on the Undead main, which is a curious decision. There are quite a few towers up here, and he doesn't have too much out here on his own. Gyro is trying to find a good spot to come in. Barrel Cake just uses Flame Breath, so that is exactly what he was waiting for. As soon as that goes off, all the gyros move in, start blasting away, and it looks like the Undead base is simply going to fall. He's not even responding to it. Another Aura got the Scourge Bone Chimes from the red creep up top while this attack was going on. But these gyros just blasting away at everything underneath of them. Death from above indeed, as the Undead main finally gets defended by the rest of the Undead army. That did force the teleport away, but still currently no income for the Undead player. Let's take a look at his resources. Right now sitting at a mere 295 gold. So has to sell a couple things right there to get himself a new gold mine. He does have a Necropolis up top, so he will be able to teleport and defend that, but it looks like the gyros have already know where it's at, and they're heading up there, getting ready to go in for another bombing run. You can see they were just scouting around. They didn't see it right away, but as soon as they identify the threat, that Necropolis is in a lot of trouble. I'm not sure if the Death Knight does have another Scroll of Teleport or not, but we'll have to see. He's at the shop right now, I think. Oh no, he's actually down here by his expansion, hopping another gold mine and a Necropolis. Once again, a couple knights and all the human heroes over here are going to start harassing the main base once again, and the Undead player is really just trying to struggle to get himself some economy up, because for the time being, he really can't deal with the human army head on. Gyro's way in the corner of the map, flying around, trying to find a good spot to strike from. Death Knight is level 5, so is the Pandaren. Lich sitting at level 4. So if he can hold out a little bit longer, all these human heroes still not anywhere near the power of the Undead heroes. So if he can just hold out longer, get his army a little more sizable, and get some more XP on those heroes, he'll probably be able to make a nice reciprocal push here against the Undead, or sorry, against the human player. But in the meantime, it looks like his main is going to go down to a few more siege engines and the human army. Right now we have the Death Knight moving in, gonna start putting some pressure on this Archmage. Man, look at those 2 nukes. Heal goes down, looks like he will be able to escape, but the Paladin and Mountain King are left behind. Mountain King's so speedy with those boots, so he's not going to have too much issue getting out of there.
Job's done.
Still a lot of harassment going down. No more mana for heals, so those heroes are going to have to be very careful. Mountain King looks like he's going to escape. Still plenty of mana on both the Lich and the Death Knight. Lots of towers going down right here, but it looks like the Undead army is going to be able to crush them before they go up and become anything effective. Everything's upgrading to guard towers. Looks like a couple of them are popping at just the right time. Peasants are able to repair while they're taking tons of damage. There's no Pandaren here to light them on fire. I'm not sure where he is, actually. He may have gone down. No, he's back at the base, holding on, trying to make sure those gyros don't show up and harass. So the Pandaren really working out well. In the meantime, everything is over here, trying to break those human towers, make sure the human doesn't get any more bases. He's already got 3. The Undead player does not want to let Rev lock down any more than he already has. It's already questionable that he can get the lead back at this point at all. But all of the towers go up, and I'm sure we're going to see Rev go ahead and grab that base as well. Plenty of gyros still on the field. Along with these tanks, it's just a huge siege army. The Undead player, Lucifer, really just has to be very careful with his bases. Can't leave anything out here by himself. He can't leave his base without making sure he purchases a scroll of Town Portal to get his army back and defend, because those tanks and those gyros will shred through his base before he has an opportunity at all. Thomas Strength sitting out here. Apparently someone doesn't like to read, but the Death Knight does. Grabs it for himself, and sitting about at a third of a way to level 6. Since there aren't too many units out here, his resurrection probably won't be terribly effective. But right now we have the siege tanks moving in once again on the Undead base. Death Knight quickly teleports back, and the Pandaren's trying to move in, get into position, gets a nice flame off on all those gyros. Frost Nova 2 will surely finish them off. But in the meantime, it looks like that gold mine may actually go down. The gyros are starting to fall, and the repair is actually starting to out-damage that over time, or out-repair the damage over time. And the siege tanks are going to fall shortly after. A nice play by the Undead player, managing to secure that gold mine, making sure that didn't go down. Actually keeps up his Necropolis as well, has a second one on the way. A few more tanks coming in from the human player, but he needs to pull those back and save them because he doesn't have anything on the field to really deal with the Undead army. Mountain King does go down for the human player, and this might be exactly what the Undead player needed. His Lich also now level 5. These siege tanks giving lots of experience along with that hero kill. Might work out very well for the Undead player. Mountain Kings get purchased back immediately at the tavern in the middle of the map. All 3 heroes kind of hanging out here by themselves. Need a little bit more army support to deal with these now very beefy Undead heroes. I'd venture to say that this is still anyone's game. I mean, the human player still has plenty of time to start bringing some more stuff on the field. He just needs to start getting his army out here and do something about these Undead heroes. He really doesn't want to gather too many small units or anything like that up, because the nuking potential of the Lich and the Death Knight, and of course the Pandaren himself, all very potent. But right now, the only real production that the human player has is just the workshops right now. So he probably wants to get a little something else out here. He's trying to maneuver around, trying to figure out where he wants to head to next. He's probably just scouting around, trying to make sure that the Undead player can't take any more bases. Really, just this one gold mine is all he has, so if he can manage to break that for the time being, he can probably just shut this game out here and now before these Undead players, or sorry, these Undead heroes hit that nasty level 6 mark, which will be a huge turning point, I feel like, in this battle. Man, look at those nukes go down. Archmage immediately destroyed. Paladin didn't even get an opportunity to heal. Level 3 and level 2 heroes are all that's left facing off against these nasty Undead heroes. Getting a little slow, getting nuked all over the place. Paladin managing to keep that Mountain King in the fight. Both of them fairly speedy, managing to try to stay relatively far away from these Undead heroes. Mountain King teleports away. Undead player has to fall back. He doesn't have anything out here on the field to deal with all these piles and piles of towers. Finally starting to get his economy going again once again, though, so he will start being able to get a few more units out here on the field. Probably get himself a frost worm or two if he chooses to rebuild that bone pit. Although I think he built that just before his black citadel went down, so he's not going to be able to get that up buried anytime soon. Lots of towers going down here. Frost Nova and Flame Breath annihilating all of the gold gatherers on this expansion. The heroes go ahead and take some mana loss. No big deal. They take the mana loss. They have some obsidian statues to heal them up, restore that mana, and keep them on the field ready to do some more damage next time. More towers on this side of the map as the undead players moving in. It looks like they're not going to go up quite in time, though, as all of the heroes are getting ready to hit one arcane tower and a bunch of arrow towers, but everything is taking tons of damage as there's just no human army out here to do anything about it. The Archmage still isn't up. He's been spending all his money on these towers. He probably should have just kind of dealt with the couple mines he had. I don't think, or maybe just the... Yeah, he's got 2 mines, so I don't think he needed to stress this one that much. I think he probably should have spent that money getting all of his army back in order, getting his hero up. And now, unfortunately, all of these towers are just giving tons of experience, and that's allowing these now very beefy undead heroes to hit their level 6. Both the Death Knight and the Pandaren are level 6. Lich is currently level 5, and the Archmage is back on the field, almost level 5 himself. But there's one more human expo down for the undead player. So it looks like we have just the crypt right now currently up. We're not going to be seeing much in the ways of more army for the undead player. These heroes are certainly enough on their own, along with their lone crypt fiend and a couple of obsidian statues. Right now, a pair of human heroes and a knight moving in for the kill, but man, those knights are just going to be taking tons of magic damage all over the place. Their heavy armor, usually very useful, but against all of these nukes that are going to be coming out, going to be very difficult to deal with. Paladin finding himself in a bit of a sticky situation. Got one Frost Nova from the Lich, but managed to pop his Divine Shield and get out of harm's way. Some Sappers coming onto the field. Purchased a Sapper, probably going to go in and try to maybe get himself a couple little kills on the Acolytes, but he is intercepted by Mr. Barrel Keg and Callous Wraithson. Level 6, and level 5. Human player has to play this very carefully. He needs to make sure he doesn't lose any more heroes right here. If he loses any more heroes, it could be the end of him. He needs to get something out here. I mean, I know I've been saying it for a while, but he just has no army. I feel like he should have the economy advantage. He's got plenty of resources, trying to keep that army, you know, from high upkeep, but I feel like just about anything is better than just those 2 heroes. Those 2 heroes are so far behind on their own. He doesn't want to be giving away any more experience than he already has, but honestly, he needs to do something to shut down these heroes before this gets any worse. Right now, everything's moving in. Lich King just sitting just below level 6 for the time being. Looks like everything's going to move in on this lower expansion, leaving the human player Rev with just the 1 gold mine to mine and kind of evening the scales for the current economy battle. Pandaren drops a quick breath of fire, lighting all those towers up right there. And probably after another one, all these heroes are going to move in. And if all these towers go down, if the human player doesn't get over here, this Lich is going to hit level 6. It's going to put everything up into ultimate range. So we're seeing what are we going to see some more Sappers or something? It looks like we are. Some more Sappers coming onto the field, going to start hitting that gold mine perhaps, as all of these human towers fall, and this final expansion for the human player is going to go down. There is still a mine up there that's active, and as we hear the human announcer, his town's under siege. I love the human announcer. He always sounds so very stressed. But he does force a teleport with those Sappers and with his heroes, so Mr. Rev did manage to save that expansion, at least for the time being, and keep that gold income churning. There are still quite a few gyros back here. There are a couple of gold towers up and a few more spear towers going up as well, so unfortunately he's not going to have the opportunity to take out that mine. He could send those gyros over here and take out this one, but right now they're kind of just sitting in the corner. Perhaps he's forgotten about them. Couple more knights finally coming out here. upgraded with armor. No offensive upgrades, though. And meanwhile, we have 1-2 upgrades for Mr. Lucifer. And now all the undead heroes are moving in once again on these poor little peasants, just trying to do their job, working all day and night in the mine just to come out of the mine and get punched in the face by a giant drunken panda. So Town Hall's gonna drop here. You can see already upgraded to maximum level. Not already, but you know, upgraded to maximum level at this point in the game, obviously. Human player once again putting some pressure on. If he can manage to break these towers, he can actually take this stuff out. A couple of heroes teleport back with their staves and are enough to rout that impending human push. Pandaren, a pretty heavy threat on his own at this point. With his fiery breath and his drunken brawling gives him a little evasion. And of course he can split into his trio of forms here if he so chooses at any given time. I'm actually not sure what the mana cost on that is, so he might be a little low for that. But currently just spamming that fire whenever he gets the opportunity to. Death Knight, very beefy. Nice play right here, having the Lich behind to cut off the attack. Dropped Frost Nova and forced a couple teleports out right there. Manages to keep the Knights up with the Paladin, but Rev, I feel like, is slowly losing his grasp on the control of this game that he had halfway through. Undead player really coming back right now, as the human player only has the one mine, trying to get this one going once again, as those peasants are rocking over the corpses of their fallen comrades. Oh, and a big death and decay happening right here. If the human player doesn't get here to stop this, this Lich is just going to obliterate this entire chunk of buildings. You can see that purple mess just crippling those buildings, eating away at them on the inside. Luckily, Agronor the Mighty is just outside of that, or he'd be taking some pretty heavy damage as well. In the meantime, all of these towers are going to go boom! There it is. Lots of damage from Death and Decay as the heroes for the human team just walk right through that. We can hear some more gyros going down and a big siege army. Oh my gosh, look at all those tanks moving in on the undead player. Looks like the human player might be going all in on a final siege attempt right here. I think actually the undead player may have spotted that because there was a scout. I think either a ghoul or a skeleton went over there and engaged to see what was going on that side of the map. A knight's gonna fall here along with this expansion, but right now the human player has his tanks moving in on the undead base. There's only like a base and a half left for the undead player. He's trying to get up another necropolis up here, has one going. The map is pretty much split in two right now, as the final human expansion is just sitting over here. Peasants aren't even mining, I'm not sure why. And the undead player is going to teleport. Lucifer coming in with all three heroes to try to slow down these siege engines. They are going to do some major damage here, but these undead heroes are actually capable of putting out enough damage to probably stop this siege push if they do it correctly. Gyro's now moving in, trying to take out these towers, trying to speed up the advantage here. If Rev manages to take out this base and shut down the other gold mine, he could have maybe really netted himself a win here. These undead heroes are just so beast right now, though, obliterating knights, really putting some serious pressure on the human heroes. You can see, once again, the Mountain King falls. Archmage finally level 5. He needs to get these tanks out and send them elsewhere, though, before these undead heroes rip out any more of them. A couple more gyros falling to the crypt fiends over here as the entire undead base has been destroyed. Minimap actually looks like it's glitching out a little bit right here. Ignore all those. I'm not sure what the deal with that is. Maybe if we click the Fog of War and... Nope, it doesn't fix it. But we'll keep going anyways. I don't care. This game is hectic. It's really... I'm not sure who's going to win this. The human player with this huge siege army should be able to lock this down and finish this off if he plays it right. He needs to make sure he sends a little bit of this down and away. He doesn't want to lose these tanks. These tanks are kind of his last win here. If he can shut down the undead and keep those gold mines from getting any more acolytes on them, I think he can really take the game here. There's nothing left over here. There is a gold mine on this side. There's a necropolis going down. Undead player just dropping necropolises everywhere. Let's take a look at his resources. He actually has no more gold. He's got 100 gold left, so this is really the perfect opportunity for Rev to shut down this play. You can see the human player splitting up. He's got his heroes up top. He's got his siege looking for trouble all over the place. Ghouls and spiders and acolytes and heroes going everywhere, trying to do what they can to keep any more of those siege from taking out the undead base. Of course, in Warcraft 3 and in StarCraft, the game is over if you lose all your buildings. So we can see that Lucifer is just frantically trying to keep those necropolises up and take out the last of these siege tanks. I think that might be the last few that are on the field. I don't see any more. There's one more up here that's heavily injured. There's a few gyros up here with the heroes. But Lucifer really riding this out, really managing to bring this back. I thought in the early game that he was almost certainly doomed, but I'd venture to say that having stopped this huge siege push right here that Rev had really pretty much invested all of his resources into, he's probably got the game from here on out. He's got a sizable army. He's got some ghouls. He's got a few crit fiends. He's got his obsidian statues to morph up into destroyers if he needs to. But actually, I'm not even sure if they can do that. I know you have to research that, but I'm not sure if you actually can do that if you don't have your Black Citadel up. So that's something I'll have to look into. Of course, it's been quite a while since I've played Warcraft 3. Used to play pretty much these two races, human and undead. But man, a couple more nukes going down, forcing the shield on that paladin. Nice to burn that early. Of course, they're probably not going to be able to get that knight. The paladin has plenty more mana for some more heals.
Our forces are under attack.
Right now, oh man, lots more gyros coming in. Pandaren was waiting for it though. Drops a big flame, and along with the spires and ghouls, those poor gyros didn't stand a chance. We can see Mr. Aaron Spellweaver right here, desperately trying to escape the clutches of the Death Knight and the Lich, activates a spell of invulnerability right here. And once again, oh, here we go. We see Death of Decay hitting again, trying to take out these towers, take out a few more human buildings. Really, it's just the most effective way to do it at this point in the game when everything's just so damn beefy. That armor upgrade increases both the armor and the HP of all those towers. Death Coil going down on the Lich. He doesn't care about getting hit by a few piddly arrows when he has the Death Coil of the Death Knight. A lot of death. That's kind of a theme with the Undead. And I'd be willing to bet that this is just going to be the game right here. One final push coming down. Again, looks like the human player Rev is pretty much entirely invested in siege. And really, that's all he needs to do. I think he's managed to take out all of the undead buildings except for this stuff right here. So it's going to, without question, force a teleport, which he doesn't even have. He can teleport his heroes individually, but his army is going to have to move in separately. So he's probably just going to try to move in and cut off the human player while he has the opportunity. But he really needs to make sure he can defend this gyro push right here, which he should be able to do even if he only takes his 3 heroes back to defend. But there are no more. I have to keep checking because the minimap's showing red buildings everywhere, and they certainly are not. Perhaps a glitch in the replay system for Warcraft 3. Here comes the teleport. The heroes are coming in, trying to shut down, and they will be able to do so relatively easily. That fire breath from the Pandaren combined with the Frost Nova on that Lich King just obliterates any masses without any issue at all. Wow, look at those nukes. Almost takes out Spellweaver before he even gets a chance to activate his Scroll of Town portal. Humans teleport out, and I think that might be all she wrote. The flying machines, or the gyrocopters as they are appropriately called. I don't care what they got changed their name to in Frozen Throne. I call them gyrocopters, damn it. Still looking for trouble. They're going to move in one final time. But the undead heroes are probably just going to be able to teleport right in and shut it down for a final time. And really, I think that's going to be it. There's down to 900 gold on the human side over here. He's checking around with the acolytes, trying to keep those gold mines scouted. But the Pandaren just can single-handedly stop those gyro pushes. And as we can see in the late game, he's just been a great choice. You often see the Pandaren in human matchups almost specifically for that reason. They can shut down the gyros. They can heavily damage those buildings. Oftentimes you might see perhaps the Drow Ranger with the combination of these two undead heroes. I haven't seen the Dreadlord recently in many replays I've watched. I do still check out some Warcraft 3 replays a lot. Probably the game I played most next to Dawn of War 2. But anyways, some more final push here. It looks like I'd be willing to bet the last attempt at any kind of push from the human player. Trying to take out that Death Knight desperately. He activates his divine shield of his own from a potion of invulnerability. Mountain King goes down, and the human player, I think, is just out of luck at this point. I think Lucifer has successfully shut this down. Teleporting all over the place, shut down these gyros, which are trying so desperately to take out these last few undead buildings. They're simply hitting and dodging and evading all over the place. Pandaren going to be waiting for him on this side of the map, though. The human player just doesn't have anything left. Down to 130 gold, and that's going to be the game, I think. Gyros can't find anywhere. There's the GG from our EV, and that's the game. Hope you guys enjoy it. Let's take a look at the score here. Units, heroes, everything except resources going to Lucifer. And that's kind of why I'm surprised. He was so far behind on the heroes, but he had the map overall really well. Managed to take out so much throughout the end. Look at the hero. I mean, that says it right there. Triple sevens right there to 5-3-3. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the match. This is Red-Rupee, of course. Relaunching the channel. Stick around. We'll be casting some more Warcraft 3, and soon we'll be doing plenty of StarCraft 2. Just feel free to like, subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff. I always appreciate it. Happy April's 1st to everyone, and I'll catch you guys next time.